Well, hello, listeners. Kath Langman here, and back with another episode of the Productpreneur Success podcast. Welcome to the show. And this week, of course, represents the first week of the second half of the year. For those of us in Australia, we've just finished our financial year. You might be still a little bit busy with your stock take or, fulfilling those last few orders from your end of financial year sale. I'd have to say stock take's got to be one of the most boring jobs in the year, but sadly it has to be done. But no matter where you are in the world, of course, finishing the first half of the year and the second quarter of the year, both of these kind of time periods are moments in time when it's really useful to stop, to take stock of how things are going in your business. I don't mean necessarily counting stock, but having a moment to review how things are going. So for years, I have been a massive fan of working to 90-day sprints, and I've done episodes on the show in the past about 90-day planning periods. And obviously that's, basically 3 months. So I'd still have an annual plan as well, but the detail is in the 90 days. And I just find it really helpful to spend a bit of time at the end of each 90-day sprint, which is, I guess I'm a mum, my kids are at school. It's kind of like term time. And then at the end of the term, you want to sort of maybe just not be running on quite the same level of intensity in the school holidays. But spending a little bit of time reviewing what I've done and just refining the plans for the next 90 days at that point in time. And I always find that pause is re-energizing. I can gather my thoughts, I can gather my energies and just be ready to push ahead again for the next 90 days or the next term, as the case may be. Now, before we go any further, I want to mention here that I know many of you listeners have been feeling frustrated by just feeling like you're not progressing towards your goals or not growing quickly enough, or just feeling like what you're doing isn't working to grow your business and not really sure what needs to change. And I know what's extra frustrating is things have definitely changed in the competitive environment that we all now operate in. I'm comparing, of course, to COVID e-commerce boom times. This year has been really different, hasn't it? And, just when you feel like you've figured something out, a new challenge comes along just to upend the apple cart. I want to assure you that just because things are different and in some ways more challenging, it doesn't mean that your business won't grow or that your marketing or advertising won't work. We just, when it feels like that, it's a moment where we need to learn how to pivot and do things a bit differently. And to help you all crack that nut, I'm hell-bent, I'm on a mission to discover as much detail and data as I can about as many of you e-commerce business owners, just to really nut out exactly what's going on that is blocking you from getting more traffic and sales. Now, to that end, I really want to ask for your help by completing a research questionnaire for me. It's not a long one, don't worry. But specifically what I want to find out from you is when it comes to trying to get more visitors to your website and more revenue through your online store, what are the biggest issues or frustrations that you are struggling with right now? Now, to complete this questionnaire, it's only going to take a quick minute or two. So really, not going to take much of your time. But as a thank you, or as I guess a bit of an incentive for devoting those few minutes for this exercise, this very beneficial exercise, beneficial for all of you, I will be donating $5 for every single response to the charity Dress for Success, which supports women around the country who are looking to get back on their feet, get back into the workforce. Now, all you need to do to be able to complete that questionnaire is head to bit.ly/ecom questionnaire. And I will make sure that I link to that on the podcast show notes as well. But basically how I'm going to use your responses, this is not a marketing list building exercise at all. It's a data collection exercise, and your responses will contribute to the development of a really useful and free online tool that you essentially like an e-commerce assessment tool that you can use anytime you like to help you figure out what to do next to grow your traffic and sales. It'll be the sort of tool, like a dynamic diagnostic tool that you can pretty much use in that quarterly review, maybe, that you might be hopefully taking on board moving forward, and that you'll be able to use that tool to help you diagnose what's going on and to figure out what to work on next with your website and your marketing. So once again, the link to head to for that questionnaire is bit.ly, so bit.ly/ecom questionnaire. And I will, of course, include that link on the podcast show notes page. And I just want to say thank you in advance if you would participate in that with me. All righty, let's move on with the episode. Now, if there's one thing that I've learned over the past few years helping many hundreds of e-commerce brands to systemize and automate their sales growth, it's this. The number of Instagram followers, rather, that you have has absolutely nothing to do with it. I know, right? So the other day I was speaking with an online store owner and I asked her what her goal was for the next year. And from memory, it was something like increase sales by 20% or something along those lines. And so my next question was, well, how are you going to achieve that? What are you doing to help achieve that goal? And her first response was about, social media and aiming to grow her Instagram followers and doing things like Instagram giveaways and collaborations on Instagram and things like that. Now, of course, there are several other similar answers that you could swap in here that are probably equally as useful to trying to get more Instagram followers. But in this case, I was a little bit confused. I was talking to someone who'd been in business for a couple of years, but they were making still less than $1,000 a week. So still very much at the startup journey, and no criticism there whatsoever. But, obviously they were still worrying about how many Instagram followers that they have. And obviously she'd made the assumption that more followers equals more sales. But I mean, it's not as though she had any evidence that that strategy was working for her so far. So that's the bit where my criticism comes in. And because ultimately this sort of thing is really common. And as the next step is usually pretty common as well, like something like posting in a free Facebook group to canvass opinions about how to get those followers, or, maybe one step further than that, like, asking what's the one thing I need to do. Now, not to be dramatic, but the internet is plagued with distractions and with illegitimate experts, would-be digital marketers sharing misinformed opinions or just ignorant ones. And just quietly, if you want to scale and grow your business without having to personally hustle for every single order that you get, you probably don't want to take advice from a digital marketer whose only method of getting leads themselves is to personally post in free Facebook groups, because clearly they haven't figured out how to systemize or automate their own marketing. Rant over. But, there is just so much misinformation out there telling you to do a million different things. Whether it's about how many times you should post on social media, or just do a giveaway, or just send stuff to influencers, or just email a discount to your list. And, at the end of the day, when you just do these things, the return on effort often isn't fabulous. And the bottom line is that none of this is strategy. They're tactics dying to have a real strategy to pull it all together. And, I guess the reality is your strategy may include some or even all of those things. But the idea that you should just do one thing without actually developing a proper strategy for your own business, that is relevant to where your business is right now and what you are aiming to grow into, you're probably just going to end up feeling extra disappointed. Now, if you're anything like me, this just isn't good enough. You're probably thinking, I started my business so that I could work on my terms, not to waste time hustling for peanuts. Now, for e-commerce sales growth, what you really want and need is a customer acquisition and retention strategy. Sounds a bit fancy pants, doesn't it? But the real problem is most digital, maybe not most, but many digital marketers just have no freaking idea how to figure this out or design a strategy to suit your unique brand. It becomes a bit of a cookie cutter exercise. And unfortunately, there just isn't a industry template about, exactly one way to do this. And most people just don't know how to figure it out for the individual business. So like the online store owner that I was speaking to recently, they just continue working on the same kinds of activities as they did last year and the year before, but hoping for different results. And when those activities fail to deliver those desired effects on your growth, then they might just result to more discounts or whatnot to bring in some dollars in the door. I am slightly exaggerating some of that there, but I'm sure there's probably some familiarity in all of that. And as Einstein, I'm pretty sure it was Einstein, so eloquently said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. And I would add to that to say, especially in a year when things around us, the environment around us has changed so drastically in terms of how consumers are behaving and in how we do business. We can't keep doing things the same way we always did. But so many of us do, and then wonder why we're not getting the results that we want. So in today's podcast episode, what I want to talk to you about today is 5 things that you can do to help you figure out what to focus on in your business next. Now, this is not going to be spelling out a full e-commerce sales and marketing strategy for you. I've certainly got loads of other podcast episodes and content to help with that, or you can book in for a strategy session with me and my team, and we can help you figure it out. But this episode will absolutely help you figure out where you are now so that you can at least work out whether what you are doing right now is working. So let's go. Number 1 is, are you getting a return on effort? So let me ask you an important question. Do you know which of your current activities actually generate results? And on the flip side of the activities that you are doing, do you know if you are wasting time doing things that, just keep you super busy, but maybe don't give you much return on investment or return on effort? I love ROE is a really great metric. So many times I speak to business owners and they're spending hour upon hour on tasks that really have little impact on their sales growth. They might be necessary tasks that have to be done in order to stay in business, like fulfilling orders maybe, or similar things. But on top of that, they just have absolutely no idea if this busy work is, whether it's having an impact or not. They don't just have no idea whether that's the case. And not that I ever used to watch much daytime television at all, maybe if I was sick as a uni student, but as Dr. Phil used to say, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. So very true in business. So how do you identify your most effective marketing activities? So my tip here would be to write a list of all the sales and marketing activities that you spend time on. And then see if you can work out what results that you're actually getting from those activities. How much traffic are you getting from them? Are you growing your email list from them? Like what kind of an impact on sales revenue are you getting from these activities? And then, so once you work out these things, you want to do more of those things and less of everything else. And the best way that I know how to work this out is to start diving into your performance metrics. So looking at your Shopify Analytics dashboard or your Google Analytics to see where your traffic and sales are coming from. And I'm particularly loving the more detailed marketing channel report on Shopify these days. And of course, also the reports coming out of the new GA4 Google Analytics as well. You can really see clearly which of your marketing channels are getting you the traffic and sales. Now, if you are generating traffic and sales from your Instagram or other social media efforts, or if those efforts are helping to build warm audiences that you're then retargeting to drive traffic and sales, and you are not doing any paid advertising or not much, work out how many hours you spend posting and engaging on the platform, and then divide your revenue or even just the traffic figures if you're still quite early days by the hours that you're spending on it to see what your hourly return on effort is. Now, I don't want to suggest that you stop putting time into content creation and distribution. We all need to have content going up. It's pretty crucial these days to be seen as a legitimate trading business or a currently trading business. We need to have that happening, but it may not be the best use of your time. And so it may be that it's actually time to delegate the implementation of your social media content strategy. Now, if you want to get better at that so that you have content going up consistently, but you don't have to do it all yourself, have a listen to last week's episode that I released called something like 10 steps to create your content plan. And you'll find that episode at katherinelangman.com/episode-180. Now, if you are spending money on advertising, you definitely need to learn how to read the results. If you're boosting a post, you might get a nice boost to your ego with comments and engagement on social media. But then when you look at the data on your website, you might not actually see traffic and sales coming from boosted posts. So, to start with really diving into your ad results, maybe head to my recent episode about how to improve the profitability of your social media advertising. And you'll find that one at katherineLangman.com/episode-173. Now, I'll make sure to include those links on the show notes page for this episode too, just so that you don't have to go hunting. All right. Number 2, can you guarantee results on your marketing spend? Marketing spend could be paying for subscription, a Klaviyo subscription. It could be paying for advertising, and it's probably, you might be doing other things as well, like spending money on exhibiting at expos and whatnot. But are you only willing to spend money on marketing or advertising if you can be 100% sure that you will absolutely be guaranteed a return on that investment? Obviously, once you are a seasoned business with a lot of history with things like, advertising or things like, doing expos, whatnot, you have a lot of data that you can rely on to analyze that return on investment, and you can be pretty damn confident that you will get a return, right? But I see so many business owners putting a lot of time into free marketing activities because they are just scared of spending money and just afraid to lose it, I guess. Trust me, I know what that feels like. So I'm not having a go at anyone if that's you. I've definitely done that before. But, at the end of the day, you don't need to do all the different marketing strategies in your business. You don't even need to be on all the different social media channels, but you do need to pick 1 or 2 marketing strategies that work for your business model, implement them consistently, review your progress, and make improvements based on your ongoing results. And the same goes for your paid advertising, right? Paid advertising is always going to be the most scalable source of traffic and sales. And I don't suggest it should be your only source of traffic and sales, not by a long shot. But here's the thing, even if you pay an expert or a consultant, you shouldn't expect to get, some massive return on investment overnight, straight out of the gate. That's actually going to sell yourself short in the long term, because you do need to give yourself a little bit of time to implement, test, review, and tweak and optimize. Testing new stuff is just so incredibly important for all businesses. And there's this wonderful Japanese concept of Kaizen, which loosely translates to something like continuous improvement. Apologies to anyone who is... if you're a Japanese person and you speak the language and you know the culture, and I've just completely butchered that, my apologies. But I love this philosophy of continuous improvement. I try and actually incorporate that into a lot of areas of my life and teach it to my kids as well. James Clear is the author of one of my favorite business books, Atomic Habits. And that is, honestly, it's an excellent book that I'd recommend to all of you. But he talks about focusing on 1% improvement every day, which we can all achieve. That is so achievable. And if you do achieve that, basically the compound interest on those improvements is what will result in the kind of growth results and return on investment that you want over time, right? Now, of course, I don't want you to keep just spending money on anything without having some idea of what returns you should ultimately expect. And if you do work with an expert, they should have some tools or methods to model that for you. But here's how to ensure that you do get a return on your marketing investment. Number 1, you want to start by recording your starting point before you undertake any new marketing activities. So, for example, if you're about to start investing in some paid advertising, how many website visitors are you getting before you start that effort? Secondly, then you record the results that you get during and afterwards in terms of your increased visitors and sales to see what impact your efforts have. Now, obviously, that's a simplified version of reporting and tracking and analyzing results, but doing this kind of thing on a regular basis is what gives you the information that you need to be able to consistently optimize and improve your efforts so as to keep improving the results that you are getting over time. Number 3, what drives sales and profit growth in your business? So the basic concept of business is relatively simple. You sell a product or a service for a certain price. To grow your business, you need more customers to buy that product or service. Now, in order to influence that growth, you do need to identify what factors drive that growth. For example, if you own an e-commerce store, what things influence your website revenue and profitability? Generally, it's things like getting traffic to your site and converting that to new and repeat customers. And of course, there's other metrics that help as well, such as profit margins, average order value, returning customers. If you can work out the root causes of your results, or key business drivers, as I like to call them, then you can focus your efforts on those things. So how do you work out your key business drivers? Now, I want to suggest you start by listing all the different ways that your customers buy from you. And next to that, identify what are the instigators for each source of customer. For example, if you sell on your website, then sources might be email, social media, organic and paid, so search engines, other referring websites. If you sell wholesale, the source is likely to be the number of sales calls that you make. And then you want to take it a step further by listing all the other factors that influence your profit, such as average order value, returning customer rate, repeat purchase frequency. Now, I recorded a really great episode recently all about how to make millions using magic metrics. Basically, it was about the core metrics that you can leverage in an e-commerce business in order to grow. And you'll find that one at katherinelangman.com/episode-174. Tip 4, are you the bottleneck? Now, I remember speaking with a recent client. So this was, the conversation I'm referring to is before we started working together, and we were discussing some strategies to improve her website conversion rate as well as traffic strategies like meta ads. But before then, we were having just a really great chat about what she should do to scale up her business. So, pretty all-encompassing discussion. And at the end of it, she was really excited and really on board with the strategies, but she wanted to complete some of the work herself first. And, I completely get this motivation, right? Like it's a bit of an insurance policy. It's also, I think the motivation is sometimes you just want to do as much as you can first before you spend money, because it's, you think you're going to save some money and all of that kind of stuff. There's probably other motivations tied into that. But a few months went by in this case. And then I reached out to her and she admitted that she hadn't implemented any of those things. And she felt so guilty about the idea that she just couldn't do it all herself, like it was a bit of a personal failure. And in all that time, she'd been working like an absolute Trojan, yet her sales hadn't grown, so she still didn't have the increased cash flow that she wanted. At the end of the day, though, we've got to remember that the uber successful people in this planet, the Jeff Bezoses of the world, like he's not fixing the Amazon website or picking and packing orders. Of course not. No business can scale up with just one person. You end up running yourself into the absolute bone. And then the minute you get sick or burn out, everything grinds to a halt and your income dries up. So, if you're the bottleneck, if you are taking 1,000,000 years to complete any project, or you are spending all your time fulfilling orders and answering customer service messages and not having time to work on any growth generating marketing activities, or if given a little bit more time, you could spend some time on those growth generated projects, but you just never get to it. And the conundrum I see a lot is in that dynamic, the business fluctuates between having having orders to fulfill, so getting busy packing, but then not having time to spend on the marketing. So then it's the sales cycle starts to dip again and the sales drive up. So then the business owner gets busy on the marketing, but there's no orders for a while, because there's a bit of a lag time. So if you're in this position, you will not grow, no matter how many great marketing ideas are suggested to you, because you simply just don't have the capacity to do more, and the answer to this situation is to start systemizing your processes and automating what you can, and then delegate by hiring or outsourcing to increase your capacity. Number 5 of 5. And you have to answer honestly here. Are you sabotaging your own success? I have a feeling probably all of us do this from time to time. And I know for myself, I remember years ago, I used to explain away my lack of achieving, one of my goals by saying to myself, I need to do X, Y, or Z before I can expect to achieve that. You know, I was really pushing that future achievement away. And, you know, that X, Y, and Z usually meant I need to do all of the things, you know, and I felt like I'm definitely the culprit that felt like I needed to do them myself, right? Or I need to be doing everything my competitors are doing, or even I need to have this fancy, expensive marketing application in place before I can expect bigger results. But all of this does is give yourself permission to stay where you are, you know, spinning your wheels and not achieving the goals that you want, or the, you know, the business and the lifestyle that you really desire. So my tip here is sometimes it is really hard to get out of our own way. And if that's the case for you, it's probably time that you find an accountability partner or a coach or a mentor to just really help keep you focused on the things that matter. The thing, you know, really get as much leverage into your time as possible and really stay the course rather than, you know, constantly getting distracted on busy things that don't matter, so that you can ultimately grow your business consistently. All right, guys, so there you have it. Those are 5 tips from me today about how, you know, to help you figure out what to focus on next, to help you grow your business. I would like to suggest that you choose at least 2 of those activities that you can use right now. Maybe also schedule some time in your calendar and commit to doing a proper review. I think it's time that it's the time of year that we all need to do that, and I will certainly be doing that as well. It is something that I now love and look forward to doing. And of course, if you do feel like reaching out to me to let me know which tips that you will take on board, or maybe when you've done them, send me a DM on Instagram or shoot me an email. I would absolutely love to know. For now, though, that is it for today's episode. If you would like some help from me in terms of generating website traffic and sales growth in your online store, give me a shout, because this is what I love to do. I teach my coaching clients and what we do for our clients in our agency every day. And I'd love to invite you to book a free e-commerce strategy session with us, and let's talk about how we can help you launch, scale, or grow your business. If you would like to book that in, just head to katherinelangman.com/work-with-me, and we will, of course, include that link on the podcast show notes page as well. For now, I hope you have a fabulous rest of the day and week, and I'll be back on the show with you again next week. Bye for now.